Good morning. Good morning. It is the first day of the year. This is now 2023. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen in this next year? I can't even imagine. We're going to be doing some big things. I have no idea how big they're going to get. I just know they're going to be huge. Some of the things that we're going to be doing and talking about new subjects and digging down deep into these finances and listen, folks, we are truly going to be giving you the game this year. I mean, when it comes to lending, when it comes to borrowing, when it comes to learning about interest cost versus interest rate. Oh, you're going to be able to level up and gain more money in the long run and the short run by understanding how lending actually works. This year, we are celebrating 89 years of amortizing the 30-year loan. 89 years. Folks, if you want to see some of these examples that we're going to be putting on the screen today, you want to go to YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, okay? So that you can actually see what we're talking about. I'm going to put my link at the top of the page. So let's go ahead and get it up there. All right, ice10k.com. We're adding that link. And so anything that you see there, you can take advantage of. But we're going to talk about some things that are very exciting today. Do you guys know what a disruptor is? Disrupting something that people have just taken for granted, or they absolutely knew that this thing was the thing. It was the right thing. It has always been right. It has always been, it is right now, and it will always be right. But a disruptor comes along and says, you know what? Oh, this thing is not even good. It was bad from the beginning. And here is the right information. That's what a disruptor does. It goes against the conventional wisdom. And right now, every time people hear prepayment penalties, they hear something negative. Today, all of that changes. Today, you're going to hear what's positive about prepayment penalties, and you may even want to ask for a prepayment penalty once you understand it and how it can help you borrow money cheaper with a prepayment penalty. Listen, if you've got any questions, come on up to the stage. Good morning. So I'm putting, good morning to everybody in the chat. And we're also going to say Happy New Year to everybody. All right. Happy New Year to everyone. There we are. Oops. Let's spell it correctly. There we go. Happy New Year, everybody. Listen, I hope everything is going to be okay for you. I wonder if anybody wants to come to the stage and talk about what they plan to do or what they hope to receive in this new year. What plans do you have to make 2023 the best year ever? Do you have any comments? Do you want to come to the stage and share anything about how you feel about this next year and what it is going to mean for you and some of the changes you are going to make and how things are going to improve? Do you have any ideas whatsoever? Let's go ahead and raise your hand, come to the stage, and we'll talk about it. Also, tell us where you're from. All right. Happy New Year, everybody. Tell us where you're from online. If you're watching us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, if you're watching us, put it in the comment section where you're watching us from. And if you're on Clubhouse, tell us where you're from. I'm from right here in Huntsville, Alabama. And it's an amazing place. But last week, it felt more like Canada. Oh my gosh, it got so cold. But now, I'm glad I'm in the South. I love it here. When we're talking about Huntsville, Alabama, the number one city in the United States in which to live, this place is booming. And I am so thankful to be here and to be brought here in 2008. So, listen, folks, good morning, Steve. Good morning to you, Jonathan. Cheryl is saying Happy New Year with her balloons. I love that, Cheryl. That looks good. All right. So, anybody else want to come to the stage? Got anything to say? Raise your hand. All right. Cheryl wants to come up. All right. Invite her up to speak. All right, Cheryl, come on up here. Good morning to you and Happy New Year. What do you have
Good,
for us this morning?
good morning and happy new year to you and everyone else as well. You said to come up and say what we're going to do differently this year, right?
I would love to hear that.
Okay, so first of all, my name is Cheryl Ware. I'm actually a real estate agent and an investor here in the DC metropolitan area. I'm always in Clubhouse, but I never spoke. So this year, I plan on speaking more. Okay, and I've been a moderator in a few rooms before, but it was all related to notary because I am that as well. So that's what I plan on doing. And to improve this year, instead of trying to do so many things at one time, I think I'm going to slow down and do one at a time because too many things is very hard to knock out. So that's one of my major plans this year. And I'm going to keep it very simple, not overcomplicate. And of course, I'm going to invite you to speak at the DMV Wholesale and Rehab Meetup because I am the co chair of that as well.
Oh, listen, I'm down for that. Okay?
Yes.
When is that
So,
going to be?
well, I'm going to sit down and write out everything and organize it. I'm not quite sure
Uh huh.
how to order everything, but well, all of you on Clubhouse, I don't know why I'm strapped or struggling. There's absolutely no reason for that. So I'm going to change that. Those are one of the things I'm going to change because I never really talk about it on Clubhouse. And that's just ridiculous.
Well, listen,
But I will let you know. I'll reach out in the background. You'll probably be on top because you talk about mortgages. And
yes.
that's a major thing. And of course, most of the people I deal with in general have mortgages or are trying to get them. So,
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming to the stage and speaking to us. I'll be glad to participate. But I think that's good. All right. Focusing and making sure that you can do that one thing well before we move on to the next thing. I think that's wise. Is there anybody else that agrees with that? Cheryl, thank you so much for coming up to the stage. And yes, you definitely need to speak more.
yes, I do. I definitely, when I do speak, well, in notary rooms, I speak quite a bit. They tend to make me a moderator. But, I'm a real estate agent. Of course, I know quite a bit. So,
Well, good. Anything that you can give, if people can benefit from. Just listen, there's stuff that you know that I don't know, and so when you can,
likewise.
yeah, when you can share that, that's always going to be good stuff, right? Nobody can take that away from you. What you know, so share it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Anybody else got anything they want to share about what they're going to do or would like to do in this next year? Come up, raise your hand, come on up to the stage while we're preparing to get into this thing about prepayment penalties. But first of all, Shay, I got a question for you, if I may.
Yes.
All right. Have you ever heard of prepayment penalties?
Yes, of course.
And in your conversations about prepayment penalties, have they always been negative? Have they ever been positive?
They're not positive. However, we really don't speak about them a lot.
Okay. Have you ever heard anybody break down a prepayment penalty and what it's all about?
Actually, I have because of the classes, continuing educations I have to take. And I've been a licensed loan officer as well in the past, right? But do I remember details? No. I
Well,
just know you want to avoid them.
all right. Well, listen, here's what we want to do. We want to take what you've learned, and because you have some valuable insight on prepayment penalties, can you hang out with us for a little bit?
I'd love to.
Great, 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 great. So we can talk about prepayment penalties and show them in the light that you have. And then also, let's see if there's a positive spin we could put on prepayment penalties and actually incorporate prepayment penalties. Have you ever heard of actually requesting prepayment penalties? Have you ever heard of that?
No, definitely not.
I
That
bet
is unheard of.
I bet you're dying to hear about why I would even entertain asking for a prepayment penalty.
Yes, we are. I am.
All right, folks, let's go ahead and get started here. But first of all, let's talk about some of the things that we're going to be doing in this new year. And one of the things that we're going to be doing in this new year is continuing to be a disruptor, sharing the P.I.L.L method message, prepayment of principal, isolating the principal amount, leverage, and liquidity. We got Armin watching us here is watching us on YouTube. And he says, Happy New Year to everybody. So, folks, here's one of the things we want to do. We want to make sure that this message gets out so that you can understand how your finances work, how lending actually works. And we want to hear from someone who was doing it one way for a very long time until he found out about the P.I.L.L method and said, hold up. This is way better. I can own my home, own my asset, and pay a lot less interest in doing that without sacrificing lifestyle. We want to hear from Dr. Eric Thomas. They call him E.T., the hip hop preacher. Let's hear what he has to say about the P.I.L.L method.
Listen to me, y'all. But one of his mentees took us through one of their programs, and I paid off my mortgage. But guess what happened? My marriage went to a whole nother level. And you know why? Because my wife is a security freak. And even when I blew up, my wife would be like, oh, you blew up, but how long is you gonna keep making this kind of money? I was like, I don't know, forever. She's like, you sure? Because I'm gonna keep my license as a nurse just in case you don't. So when I paid the house off, my boy was like, you ain't gotta do that, you can do this. But when I paid the house off using that program, it took the stress level all the way down for my wife because we no longer had a mortgage. Does that make sense? That thing that was coming every month, that was getting on her nerves, we didn't have that no more. And so she was at rest.
All right, folks, in this next year, we want to get this message out. E.T., the hip hop preacher, is saying this is what he used. His wife says, I feel a lot better with no mortgage, no stress. Do you know that because this has been playing not only on the internet, but on TV, people are calling us and say, I want to be stress free as well. But guess what? Even with our company, with our small company, with about 30 people when we combine the offices here in Huntsville and in Salt Lake City, we can't see everyone. We can't touch everyone's lives. We need your help. Okay. So first of all, what we want you to do in this next year is, if you are hearing us and you resonate with what we're doing, become an affiliate. And if you go to ice10k.com right now and click on the link to become an affiliate, you can help us to get the message out. And listen, you can watch our videos, get well acquainted with what we're talking about and what we believe. And if it resonates with you, start sharing it with others. You can, by just filling that out. Give us that basic information and tell us how you want to get paid. Now, what do you do next? When you find someone who wants to know more about how they can pay off their loans cheaper and faster, how to get completely out of debt in 7 to 9 years on average, how they can do it without sacrificing their lifestyle, without selling pizzas at night, without driving a 30-year-old car, without staying at home and can't do anything because they got to take all their money and throw it at the debt. They got to cut up their credit cards. Listen, they have to sacrifice lifestyle. You don't have to do any of that. You don't need more money to get out of debt, folks. What you need is to pay less interest, and that's what we're talking about. So if you can wrap your mind around that, and you want to help others to do that, send them to our YouTube channel. Have them watch some of our videos. Go to YouTube, search P.I.L.L method, and have them watch the videos. Then recontact that person within 24 to 48 hours. No more than 48 hours. No more than that. Okay? And if they have at least $100,000 in debt and a mortgage, okay, combined, they have a mortgage and debt with at least with a minimum of $100,000 in debt, then they qualify for a referral for you. Once they become a client, then we will send you out $300 as a referral fee. And if you get good at it, we'll show you how you can get up to $1,000 as a referral fee just for handing over the name of somebody who's interested. You fill out the referral, put your name in the referral slot, and hit submit. Our team takes it from there. Thank you very much. When they become a client, we will let you know, and then you will receive your referral fee. We need your help in getting this message out in 2023. Now, let's get into what other people are talking about right now, is how they can live stress-free without mortgage and other debt. Well, you can go to ice10k.com, and there's another button there that says get a savings and earnings report. Get your savings and earnings report, and then you can know the month, day, and year you can be debt-free and how much interest you could save. Oh my goodness. Did you know the average family has 13 different debts? How would you like to be debt-free, mortgage-free, in an average of 7 to 9 years, and you can live well while you're doing it? Oh my goodness. The way to do this is to cut interest cost, not to cut your lifestyle. Let's show you how to do that, folks. And not only that, but get the basics. Get the basics that are in my book. And you can find my book on Amazon. And my book is the only book out of 33 million titles that talks about this subject. What? Yes, the only one out of 33 million titles on Amazon that talks about this subject, understanding how loans really work. This is why we have a disruptive program, not just our technology, but our education as well. It goes against practically everything you've ever learned about finances, including understanding how prepayment penalties actually work. And we're going to show you how you can benefit from it today. Donna, how are you doing today?
Good morning, Dawn, and Happy New Year to you and to everyone on stage and in the listening lounge. Good morning, happy Sunday, Happy New Year. Let me hope whatever God have in store for us for this year, He will enlarge our territories and we will get all these gems that are being dropped. We will put them in our daily lives and get some savings throughout this year, and we can have much more money at the end of the year. Let's make that a goal. Donna, I'm a longtime buy and hold real estate investor located in Canada, presently doing business in the United States. I am the owner operator of many 4 doors of assisted living, independent living facilities caring for seniors over 65 and adults. I'm whatever else I have not said. Please check the bio, and I'm building my Instagram my Instagram following, and I ask that you give me a follow on Instagram. If you're not already a member of the club, please click on that little green arrows at the top. Please join the club. Please share the room. We have 19 persons in the room, and I can't see the shares. However, could you just share the room so others that are lounging around, our algorithm can go up, and others can just see that we are in here and come in and get some of these gems that you are enjoying in the room. Thank you, Dawn, and I'm done speaking.
All right, folks, let's go ahead and let's jump right into it today. So right now, I've got to share on the screen. Right now, we want to understand, just start with the language. Let's just start with the words prepayment penalties. Let's break it down so that we can understand it for what it really is and not just look at it as something that's negative and something that needs to be avoided. Prepayment penalties need to be understood, not just avoided. I'm going to listen. If you're writing stuff down, that's what you need to write down. Prepayment penalties need to be understood, not just avoided. If you just avoid them, you're losing out on opportunities because we didn't understand how they work and how they can benefit us in the long run and the short run. So what we're going to do first is put some stuff on the screen. So let me go ahead and share this screen. And let's see. We're sharing screen 2. There we go. And we're going to put that on. What is a prepayment penalty in the first place? Listen, if you have questions, Miss Donna is going to help us to take a look at the chat. I'll be looking online in the comment section, but raise your hand if you have any questions about this. And if you want to see what we're doing, if you're new to the room and you want to see what we're doing, go straight to YouTube on a secondary device and then search for P.I.L.L method and you'll see our live show and you can see this. Okay, so let's go ahead and put that on the screen. Let's show what we have. All right, so let's go ahead and blow that up. So what is a prepayment penalty here? And I just Googled it and just came up with this. What is a prepayment penalty? A mortgage prepayment penalty is a fee that some lenders charge when you pay all or part of your mortgage loan off early. The penalty fee is an incentive for borrowers to pay back their principal slowly over a longer term, allowing mortgage lenders to collect interest. Okay, let's break that down. Now, I've said before, when all you have to do to help understand prepayment penalties, excuse me, is to change one word. Anybody who's heard me before, do we know what that word is? Can you put it in the chat or in the comment section if you're online? All right. What is the one word we can change that helps us to start with our understanding of prepayment penalties? All right. Anybody know? All right. Let me tell you, because I'm not seeing it. Sobing says cost. No, you don't have to listen. You can put an exclamation point on that. All right. So because it's not a question. That's it. Change the word penalty to cost. Let me scroll down here just a little bit, and I want to show you something. How, when you start studying it, look at this. Prepayment cost definition. Listen, prepayment cost means an early discharge, all right, of a purchased receivable, like a housing loan or whatever, and you pay it off early. So there's a cost to prepay. All right. Lakeisha Pope says, change the word penalty, and we're going to change it to the word cost. Max says, opportunity cost. All right. So yes, it is changing the word penalty to cost. That's number one. All right. So now, when we understand the cost of prepaying, now when we prepay either a portion of the mortgage or all of it, we now know that something kicks in and there's going to be a cost to paying off the loan early. There's going to be a cost. So I've got Cheryl here, and she says she studied prepayment penalties, and she says, well, they're negative, and everything that she's heard before, you just need to be avoided. So Cheryl, are we right so far that when you trigger a prepayment penalty by paying either a portion of the mortgage early or all of the mortgage early, there will be a cost for that, right?
Yes, you're correct.
Okay. So if I do something that's worth a cost, so if I see penalty, my feeling is I just want to avoid it, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And I'm not going to look any farther into it because there's a penalty. And what is there anything good that comes out of penalties?
No, definitely not.
All right. But if I change the word to cost, does it make sense to call a prepayment penalty a cost for paying off the mortgage early? Does it make sense to do that?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Now, if I change that word to cost, could that inspire me to ask some more questions?
I would say it inspires you to avoid the
Okay.
cost.
You want to avoid the
Most people
cost.
just want to avoid it. They don't really ask too many more questions. They just see penalty costs and they try to avoid it.
They try to avoid it. But what if I told you, would it be helpful to find out what the cost actually is?
Yes, it would be.
Oh, now that you hear the word cost, penalty just says avoid, avoid, avoid. But cost says, let me find out what it costs me.
Yes.
Now, let me ask you another question since you've been studying this. And we need your perspective, Cheryl, because most everybody has that same perspective. All right. I had that perspective until I started studying this thing. Okay. So once I find out what the cost is, what do you think is going to make it worth the cost? If there is a cost, there's always got to be, if I'm going to pay for something, I want to find out what the benefit is, correct?
Correct. I was just thinking that.
You were just thinking that.
Yes, what's the benefit to the cost?
What is the benefit to the cost? So now we got more questions. Just changing one word has given us two great questions. What is the cost and what is the benefit? So, Cheryl, in any of your classes, has anyone ever talked about what the benefit is to prepayment penalties?
Well, again, they were continuing ed classes for real estate.
Right.
But not I can't say I remember that.
I can't say that you remember. Listen, you know why you don't remember it? Because they didn't talk about it.
No, I can't know.
So if there are people who are prepaying now, if I prepay, what are some of the benefits to prepaying? What are some of the benefits to prepaying? What do you think?
Oh, you mean just what I think in general?
In general, yeah.
Okay, so benefits to prepay. You're free from being strapped to that payment.
Okay. All right. I'm writing this down. I'm taking notes too. So I'm free from being strapped to the payment.
Yes.
All right. So if I can be free from being strapped to the payment, how does that help me financially?
You can do more things, other things,
What
peace of mind.
What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? Because
You can use that same money
Right.
and put it somewhere else and make it advantageous in your life.
All right.
Somewhere else.
Well, listen. If I borrow $200,000 and I pay back $200,000, am I done with my loan?
Yes.
Are there other costs involved?
Wait, if you have a prepay?
No,
then
I'm
there are
just saying any loan. If I have a $200,000 loan and I pay back my $200,000, is that all there is?
Okay, is that a trick question? Yes.
No, it's not a trick question. So what else is involved in lending? So I borrow money. What else do I have to pay besides what I borrowed?
Which you promised you paid to borrow that money.
Yes. And is there any interest involved in that?
Typically, yes. Of
Typically,
course.
yes. So if I can pay that thing off, then does it would it be safe to say I could save interest?
Yes, it would benefit you.
It would benefit me to save interest. Okay. So, folks, let me break this down in such a way. Cheryl, I am so glad that you're here. Let me tell you, because you're helping us out a lot. Miss Donna, anytime you want to chime in on any of this, because you are in Canada, right?
Yes, I am.
And in Canada, unlike the United States, there are a lot of you can mute your mic right now, Ms. Cheryl. In Canada, there are a lot of prepayment penalties, even for residential properties. We don't have that in the U.S.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
correct. And in Canada, you can pay up to 20%, without prepay up to 20% of the mortgage without triggering the prepayment clause. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now here's the other thing, folks. I want you to keep this in mind. I have talked to a lot of people in Canada who have prepayment penalties, but they were unaware. They were unaware of the part where it says you can prepay up to 20% without a penalty. They just assumed they couldn't pay anything without a penalty. So anything you prepaid, you were going to get a penalty because that's how they understood it. Miss Donna, has that been your experience?
That has been my experience. It's funny you say that, but that has been my experience. And because of the knowledge and the gem that you share in this room, I approach everyone with the questions that are, the provoking questions. And, it doesn't mean that you cannot pay towards it, but there is a penalty. And I have actually dealt with that just with even a simple student loan. But asking about mortgage and paying it down, yes, but it does not, as you said, does not um, hinder us from paying down. You just don't want to pay past that amount with a penalty, but you're still paying because at the end of the day, you're going to be saving anyways.
Oh, Miss Donna, you just said something there.
You're going to be saving, whether when you look at even the penalty that you're going to be incurring, the interest save on that loan is far more than any penalty that they're going to ever
Oh, oh, oh. Listen, folks, you need to start sharing this room right now. We're breaking this prepayment penalty thing down in here today. Let's start getting some people in here. Can I get you to share it? Because I can't see it. I thought that they did an update.
No, we still can't see. But
And they were
I
some.
look at inside.
Yes.
I look at inside, but
Okay.
there has not been any share. But me and you, John, and please, everyone, can you share the room? Give us some social currency here. You can share on Clubhouse. You can share on Twitter, LinkedIn, all the different Facebook, Instagram. Did I say Twitter? Twitter, all your social media handle. Please share the room, let everybody know we are here because listen, these are gems that are being dropped, and you get this nowhere else. No place else on Clubhouse you can come and get this information. Thank you. Please share the room. Thank you.
All right, please share it, everybody. And then, folks, if you're new to the room and you want to see these examples, what we're putting on the screen here so that you can understand it better, go to YouTube and on a secondary device. And also you can see what we're talking about. So we're breaking down the prepayment penalties. Now, we've already discovered by changing a word to prepayment costs, we've discovered some things. There is a cost to prepay. And then if there's a cost to prepay, then we'll also know that we're going to save interest if we prepay. Now, I need you to listen to this again. All right, where it says, what is a prepayment penalty? A mortgage prepayment penalty is a fee that some lenders charge when you pay all or a part of your mortgage loan off early. The penalty fee is an incentive. Listen to this part. It's an incentive for borrowers to pay back their principal slowly over a longer term, allowing the mortgage lenders to collect interest. Now, here's the thing, folks. If you are encouraged for a prepayment penalty to pay your loan off slower so that you can pay interest to the bank, aren't you assuming that the penalty you pay is going to be more than the interest you pay? Isn't that the assumption? Come on, folks, talk to me. Put it in here. Isn't that the assumption? Based on this, the penalty is a fee. The penalty fee is an incentive for borrowers to pay back principal slowly over a longer term, allowing mortgage lenders to collect interest. Oh, so that means I'm going to pay it over slower so I can pay the interest instead of paying the fee. That's what that means. All right. So here's the thing, folks. I want to make this abundantly clear to you today.
I have a question.
Go right ahead with your question, ma'am.
So the assumption is that you spend tens of thousands of dollars as opposed to save tens of thousands of dollars. That's what you're saying, right?
Help me to understand your question.
Okay, so what you're saying is you end up spending tens of thousands of dollars as opposed to saving tens of thousands of dollars because of our assumption.
Okay, so you're saying,
That's not correct, right?
well, I need to know what your the saving and spending is tied to. Break it down for me.
The interest.
The mortgage
because
interest.
When we see the prepayment penalty, we think we're going to, as opposed to save money, right? We think we're going to end up spending tens of thousands as opposed to saving it.
That's
because
it.
when we see it,
Yes.
we become fearful.
Yes.
Things of that nature. So we end up doing just the opposite of what we should be doing.
All right, Miss Christina Word is vibing with you. She says they call it an incentive for who? For who though? For them. It's not for us. So when we see prepayment penalty, we assume that the penalty is going to be more, cost us tens of thousands of dollars more than the interest we are paying. So we should be satisfied with just paying the interest over a longer period of time so we can avoid the penalty. Right?
Right. That's what I was saying, but maybe not in those words.
But that's okay. That's okay. You're helping us today. So listen, you need to talk more. You got all this bottled up in you. Listen, you can't go into 2023 and keep all this inside you. I'm just telling you, Miss Cheryl. You got to get it out there. People need to hear what you're talking about. All right, so I got Miss Karen in here right now. Miss Corrine Mills is in the room right now. Miss Corrine, listen, we want to catch you up only because you have been in banking for a very long time. And I have on my screen right now, this. All right, so we're going to make you a moderator. What is a prepayment penalty? A mortgage prepayment penalty is a fee that some lenders charge when you pay all or part of your mortgage loan off early. The penalty fee is an incentive for borrowers to pay back their principal slowly over a longer term, allowing the mortgage lenders to collect interest. And this is what we found out. Now, when we look at more ways to identify this, we found out that some lenders call it a prepayment cost. You can see some definitions, and it comes down to prepayment cost. So I'm talking with Miss Donna here and Miss Cheryl, and some of the questions that come up, if there's a cost, we want to know, we want to now know, how much does it cost to prepay? How much does it cost to prepay? And then when we find out how much it costs, when we buy something, if there's a cost and we're paying for it, what is the benefit? What are we paying for? There has to be a benefit if there's a cost. Okay. So if there's a cost, how much interest are we saving if I have to pay the cost to prepay? That's where we are in the conversation. Miss Kareen, what do you think so far?
Well, Don, good morning, and good morning, my friends. It's essentially a penalty. It's a punitive cost, right? It gives you that penalty for not allowing the bank to make more money from you, and they want to accelerate their, um, their interest in the loan. But it definitely is something that you can do the math for, just like you always do, and that just like I always do is I always do the math so that I can make an informed decision. So I think this is great.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. So tell us quickly who you are and what you do.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Kareen Mills with the heart on my photo. Heart on my photo is my mom's heart. I'm the founder of Club, and I teach people financial literacy inside my global platform, which is Club. I have a mission in the club, which is creating a matrix like awareness for people so that they can be educated in making these decisions. And part of these decisions is definitely your play by play move in terms of your mortgage amortization. And I'm excited that somebody like Dawn is making a huge difference in this space because the bankers do not quite teach it. And the reason the bankers don't teach it is not because they don't want to, is because their training program do not teach it. Therefore, what knowledge they transfer to the consumer is only limited up to their training program. So I'm excited for people like a lot of us changing this world, educating people around the other side of the financial literacy and especially the banking industry.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Listen, folks, I have some. Listen, we're just getting started on this thing. I got Liza in the room. I got Linda in the room. I got Leah in the room. Oh my gosh, we have so many more people in the room now. Continue to share the room, folks. Continue to share the room. And Miss Donna, going into the insights, could you go ahead and thank some of the people who are sharing the room? Could you do that? When you get a chance, I'd appreciate it. I got.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Don. I've actually looked in the inside, and yes, thank you so much for sharing the room because we're really not seeing the shares. We have to go in the inside now because it's not showing at the bottom of how much it's sharing. But we thank you for sharing the room, and you could just share it in the hallway, share it to Twitter, share it to Facebook, LinkedIn, IG, whatever social media handle you do have, you can just share, and you can ping a friend. When you go at the same share button, just go and share and just ping a friend and invite them in so they can come in. Also, thank you. There is someone with a party hat, Dave, at the bottom. Welcome. If you're not already a member of the club, just click on the greenhouse at top and become a member. Thank you for coming.
All right, folks, listen, if you're new to the room, go to YouTube on a secondary device, your laptop or your tablet, and then search Pill Method, and you can see these things live. And so far, here's what we've gotten up to, folks. There is a prepayment cost. And if we just hear penalty, we just want to avoid it. If we call it a prepayment cost, now we're going to ask some questions. How much does it cost, and what is my benefit going to be? So first of all, let's go over what the benefit could be. We have to understand, and here's what we're not being told, okay? And Miss Cheryl has not only studied prepayment penalties, but has had continuing ed classes on prepayment penalties, but all she's ever heard was how to avoid them. Okay, so Miss Cheryl, let me ask you another question, if I may. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Has anyone ever talked about how much interest would be saved if you prepaid? or how to calculate interest savings by prepaying. Has that ever been brought up in any of your classes?
No, we don't go into details about those things.
All
No.
right. Would you like to today?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. All right. I'm excited here. And Credit Ninja, I see you right there. Listen, folks, you need to be following Credit Ninja as well. We're going to get to her in just a few minutes when we get a chance to go over this. But, folks, here's what we're talking about today. All right. I have on the screen a $300,000 mortgage right now. All right. At 6% interest. And when we see that thing, we're going to learn just a little bit about how prepayment works. So if I have a $300,000 mortgage at 6%, here's my payment of $1798.65. I'm going to scroll down here to the summary, and here is the thing. The bank wants me to pay $347,514 interest on this loan, on a $300,000 loan. They want me to pay back the $300,000 plus $347,514 for a total of $647,514. Who wants to pay $647,000 for a $300,000 house? Anybody here? No. They want to say, what can we do to save on that interest? With the P.I.L.L method, you can actually save up to 75% or more of that interest cost that the bank wanted. The bank wants $347,000. How would you like to cut that by 75 to 80% so you do not have to pay all that interest? Oh my goodness. That's what we're talking about. Watch some of my other videos to get that information. All right, so let's scroll down. Let's scroll down to payment number 1, and let's see what amortization does to this loan. Because as of this year, amortizing 30-year loans is 89 years old this year. 89 years old this year with virtually no education on how it actually works for those 89 years. This is why when we hear prepayment penalty, we just want to avoid the penalty because we don't know what our benefit is from prepaying. Let me give you just a little bit of knowledge here. If you payment number 1 out of that whole payment of let's see, what is the entire payment? Is $1798.65. $1798.65. Out of that, only $298.65 goes to principal. Look at this, $1,500 goes to interest. Wow. Okay, my LinkedIn user is sharing. Thank you very much for sharing this on LinkedIn. Thank you, Miss Lakeisha Pope, for being here on YouTube. Thank you very much, Armin, for being here, and all of you that are here on Clubhouse. But I need you to take a look at line 2, where $300 goes to principal and $1,498 goes to interest. Let me show you the power of prepayment because of how the loan is amortized. The reason why there's no more information out there about what happens when you prepay, that you don't get to figure that out. Miss Cheryl, are you able to see my screen as well as hear me on Clubhouse or no?
No, I'm looking, but I don't see you.
Okay.
Here.
All right. So if you have a laptop or a secondary device, you can actually see this screen on YouTube. All right. If you want to bring that up. All right. So here's what we're talking about next. So if I make this payment in January this month, all right, $298.65 goes to principal, $1,500 goes to interest, and February's payment, when February rolls around, I'll pay $300.14 to principal and $14.98 to interest. But because I have this schedule, I can actually see February's principal payment. There's no rule that says I can't pay it. What the rule says that if in some instances, if I pay it, there may be a penalty. But let's find out what happens when I choose to prepay. If I choose to prepay $300 early, $300.14 early before, this is why we call it a prepayment. If I pay it before the 1st of February, all of this money goes to principal, and I'm paid down to line 2 on my amortization schedule in 1 month. And my next mortgage payment for February is actually on line 3 of my amortization schedule. So I got rid of line 2 on my amortization schedule for only $300.14. And the benefit is I just saved myself $1,498.51 in interest for doing that. Miss Cheryl, have you ever heard that before?
From you.
But isn't that wonderful? Isn't that wonderful? So I can save, if I can save that much interest for paying $300 early, and if somebody was trying to hit me with a penalty, the penalty would have to be what? More than the $14.98 I just saved. And what I'm trying to tell you, folks, it isn't. Now, here's one thing you want to keep in mind. If you're a real estate investor, you might have heard of the step down, write this down, the step down prepayment penalty clause, all right, where it is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In the first year, if you prepay this loan, if you pay it all off, okay, you're going to pay 5% of the amount that you still owe. You're going to pay 5% of the amount that you still owe as a penalty. All right. So if you pay off $1 million loan early, you're going to pay 5% of that if you pay it off. All right. In the second year, it goes to only 4%. And the third year, it goes to 3%. And in the fourth year, it goes to 2%. And in the fifth year, if you pay it off in the fifth year, you pay 1% penalty. Now, the reason why people will continue to pay, continue to pay the mortgage is to avoid, and if they pay it in the first year, they're going to get hit with a 5% penalty. All right. So now, if I take a look at this thing, let's say this is the mortgage, it's a $300,000 mortgage, and I pay this thing off. All right. I pay it off. How much interest does the bank want me to pay? $347,000 in interest. $347,000 in interest. That's how much they want me to pay. All right. Let's just say I make every payment for a year, for 11 months. I've already paid $3,368.51. All right. And I've paid in interest $16,416.64. I've already paid that in interest. All right. So now if I choose to pay it off, because I'm still in the first year, I have to pay, if I'm in that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 step down, I have to pay 5% of what I still owe. I still owe $296,000. I'm going to call the bank up. I want to pay off the $296,000. Okay. They're going to say, yeah, but you owe us 5% of the $296,631.49. Okay. You owe us 5% of that because you're paying it off in the first year. So let me put this calculator on the screen. Okay. Put the calculator on the screen. And I'm going to do $296,631. All right. And 49 cents. Okay. I want to prepay that. I just want to pay that off. The bank says, if you pay that off, you got to pay us 5% of that. So we pay it off. All right. And what is 5% of that? So we're going to multiply that by 0.05. My penalty is going to be $14,831.57. All right. $14,831, okay, and 57 cents. That's my penalty. All right. But what is my benefit for paying that off? My benefit is of the interest that I've already paid. All right, I've already paid. Let's see here. I've already paid $14,931 in interest already. All right, I paid all a total cumulative interest $14,931. That's how much I've paid. And now if I pay the loan off, I got to pay them another $14,831 57 in penalties. But if I subtract that from the amount of interest I was supposed to pay overall, all right? So now how much interest do I have left? So let me do the math. I have 300 I started out with 347,514 in interest that the bank wanted me to pay. All right. I've already paid them. All right. I've already brought that down by, let me see here, 14,931. So I can subtract 14,000. I'm going to subtract 14,931.91. 14,931.91. Right? Equals. I have $332,582.09 left to pay in interest. All right? You guys following me on this? I got 332,000. So, if I pay that all off, the bank wants me to pay them $14,831.57 as a penalty. What do I get as a benefit? A savings of $332,582.09. Folks, are you hearing that today? Are you hearing me? That's my benefit. I get to save over $300,000 in interest, but my penalty is $14,831.57. How many of you would trade $14,000 or $15,000 in order to save $332,000? Anybody here? Okay, I got Mr. Nicholas that came up to the stage. Nicholas, what do you have to? Oh, maybe he didn't want to. All right. Anyway, listen, folks, if you got a question or a comment, please make it now. All right, who was that said I would?
No, I said, Don, I would. For that saving that I'm going to save on the interest, I would. The penalty is not important.
Listen, folks, we've got to focus on where we need to focus and understand what just happened here. And if you're new to the room and you want to see these numbers on the screen, go to YouTube and start watching it. Find the P.I.L.L method and start watching this thing. So we just found out what happens when we do at a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 step down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 step down. Let me show you something else that is amazing. Amazing. All right. So I'm going to bring up, let me see here. I'm going to bring up something else here. I've got some other notes. Let me bring up my notes and boom, 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 that I had yesterday. And so let's put this on the screen. Here is a mortgage prepayment charge calculator. There is such a thing. This is from Canada. All right. So now we've got this thing. We've got a prepayment mortgage. How much my prepayment? I'm prepaying my mortgage here. My original mortgage is $300,000. Okay. And my current interest rate is $100,000. Okay. So now I also have to put up here. Let me duplicate this tab. Okay. So we have the $300,000 on, but I got to change this to 5%. All right. 5%. That's my interest rate. Okay, 300,000 at 5%, and delete that. Here's my new loan. There's my new loan, and the bank wants 279,765 interest on this. So now I'm going to go back to my. This is from Scotiabank in Canada. All right, how much are you planning to prepay? All right, so if I prepay, let's say I want to prepay $100,000 in total. All right, 100. That's 10,000. I'm just put a big number up there just to show you what happens. I want to prepay that. Okay, I want to prepay $100,000 on this loan, and so that means I'm going to bring it down to 200,000. Now here's the thing: if I had extra money, I'm going to encourage my clients not to put it down as a down payment. Don't use your $100,000 as a down payment. Use it as a prepayment. But they said there's going to be a prepayment penalty. Let me show you what this bank does for their prepayment penalty. So we're going to prepay $100,000 on this $300,000 loan. All right. How much cash back did we receive at the beginning? We didn't receive any cash back. We didn't get that. Okay. And when did you first take out this loan? January 1, 2023. We just took it out. All right. So now we're going to calculate our, let's calculate what our interest savings would be first. All right. Because when you have a prepayment penalty, all they talk about is the penalty. So let's calculate what our interest savings would be first. So I'm going to make my first payment January 1. And then I'm going to give the bank an additional $100,000. And let me see what my goodness, look at how much I'm knocking off this loan. Instead of putting it down as a down payment, I'm going to put it down as a prepayment. $100,000 knocks off 185 payments on this loan. 185 payments I'll never have to make because I prepaid the $100,000. And look at my interest savings, over $196,000. I just saved $196,000. Miss Cheryl, that is my benefit for prepaying this loan. I knock off 185 payments I never have to make. All right. And you say what now?
I said, that is amazing.
And $197,000 in interest. All right. I didn't make this up. I didn't write this. This is from the bank. So let's calculate what my payment, my prepayment penalty is going to be. Can everybody see that? Can anybody see that? If you can see it, please put it in the chat. Put it somewhere so people can see what the prepayment penalty is for saving $197,000 if you do this in Canada. If you can't see it, I'll tell you. $688. $688. Oh my goodness. The prepayment penalty is never going to be anywhere near the interest you're going to save if you prepay. Oh, my. And listen, I'm not done yet. Listen, the language, we're going to get into the language more about how all of this works. We're going to get into the language and how complicated it seems and how most people get fooled into thinking, they're already thinking that the prepayment penalty is going to be way more than what I'm going to get out of it. We've just proved that that's not true. But the language can be quite confusing that even lawyers get tripped up on it. And I found a situation where lawyers are being tripped up on this thing right now. We're going to get into that next. We're going to get into that situation next. Do I have any questions or comments about what we've learned so far? Isn't that huge? A $688 penalty for saving over $196,000 in interest. Why wouldn't I do that, folks? Why would I just focus in on the word penalty and not look at my benefits? Because we're not taught. This is why this information is so disruptive. This is why this situation is so disruptive. We're going to also talk about why somebody would choose to have a prepayment penalty and some of the benefits that go with it. All right. So we got a new moderator on the stage. Miss Credit Ninja. How are you? If she's there, we always love to have her put in her 2 cents on all of this. Miss Kareen, what did you think of that example? I see you put the big heart up there.
Don, sorry about that. I think a lot of people just focus on, the word penalty without really taking some time in doing the math. And this is very common in every other, things that we can do the math on. We skip the part where we can do calculation, and we're not taking some time to crunch the numbers to make an informed decision. We just jump to conclusion that it's not going to be good for us. So I'm so glad you are laying it all out with the illustration that you put out there. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Listen, folks, we're going to get into that a little bit more. Credit Ninja, when you are available, go ahead and just flash your mic. We'd love to talk to you. I'm searching I'm scanning. I'm looking for anybody who wants to come to the stage and talk about this today. Let me show you how complicated this whole thing can be if we don't know what's going on. All right. Let me pull this up, put this on the screen right now. Okay. Let me put this on the screen. All right. This is something I got from the internet. All right. And I need you. This is a $17 million loan, $17 million. Okay. At 5% for 30 years, 17 million, 5% for 30 years. It's an apartment building. All right. That makes a lot of money, by the way, makes a lot of money. Okay. So here's the thing. And part of what we have here, look at this. I need you to see this part right here. Section 2.03, lockout prepayment. I need you to see this. And it says prepayment, then prepayment lockout, prepayment premium. That's on page 6. Voluntary prepayment in full, acceleration of mortgage loan. All right, application collateral, blah, 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 blah. But on page 6, this is what we're talking about. There's a lockout. It talks about lockout and it talks about prepayment. All right, now, if this was in your mortgage, and we scroll down to page 6 of this thing, all right, okay, this is huge. This is over 179 pages on this thing. All right. Out of 179 pages, we've got to focus in on page 6, where it talks about prepayment penalties. All right. All right. There it is. Now, here is what we're talking about. Here's section 2.03. If you guys want to see this thing and how confusing it could get, all right, I need you all on stage to help me to break this down. If you are in lending, if you are a mortgage person and you're in the room right now, please raise your hand, come to the stage, help us to take a look at this thing and understand it. If you're new to the room, go to YouTube, go to P.I.L.L Method, and you can see what we have here. Listen to this. The borrower shall not make a voluntary partial prepayment on the mortgage loan at any time during the loan term, or a voluntary full prepayment on the mortgage loan at any time during any prepayment lockout period. So if you had this as part of your mortgage, this is part of the mortgage contract, how would you all read that? Anybody on stage? How would you interpret that? or anybody in the audience wants to come up and talk about that. I just read part of this, and it says that you are locked out any loan at any time at any time during the loan term or a voluntary prepayment of the mortgage loan at any time during any prepayment lockout period. You can't pay it all off. You can't pay even partial. You can't do that if I stop right there. All right. Does anybody have any comment on that? How would you read that? Because I know how some people are reading that, because I'm talking to some people who are going through this right now. I help people make money on prepayment penalties. All right. Let's get into it. Nobody has any questions or comments? No hands raised? Let's go on. And now here's the next part of this. I need you to listen very closely. People assume, even the lawyer that is helping these folks assumed this. Even the person that helped them to put the mortgage together assumed this. Watch this. Listen. Except, that's the very next word. Except as expressly provided in this loan agreement, including as provided in the prepayment premium schedule. Because see, there's a prepayment premium schedule. If you prepay, there's a schedule that says, here's how much you owe. All right. A prepayment premium calculated in accordance with the prepayment premium schedule shall be payable in connection with any prepayment of the mortgage loan. Folks, I just showed you what most people do when they read if they have a prepayment penalty, what they read. They read the first part, but they don't read beyond that. And I'm gonna start over again, and I need you to zero in on this thing. The borrower shall not make a voluntary partial prepayment on the mortgage loan at any time during the loan term, or a voluntary full prepayment of the mortgage loan at any time during any prepayment lockout period, except as expressly provided in this loan agreement, including as provided in the prepayment premium schedule. So it says you can't do it, and then it says except when these things are in place. You can do it, it's just going to cost you. How much does it cost you? We have a schedule that tells you how much it costs you, but what they don't mention is how much interest you save when you prepay. They don't mention that. Now, let's go a little bit deeper. It says here, except as expressly provided in this loan agreement, including as provided in the prepayment premium schedule, a prepayment premium calculated in accordance with the prepayment premium schedule shall be payable in connection with any prepayment of the mortgage loan. Watch this. I need to go back just a little bit more. Watch this. The last part of the first sentence. On the mortgage loan at any time during any prepayment lockout period. Do you see that word any? That word does not mean that there is even a lockout period included in this mortgage. This is boilerplate language, folks. Oh, Lord. This is boilerplate. This is telling you if you have a prepayment penalty, this is how it breaks down. But guess what? In this mortgage, there's no prepayment penalty schedule. There's no prepayment penalty length. There's nothing more about a prepayment penalty anywhere after this. This just says if you have a prepayment penalty, you can't prepay without paying according to the schedule. I'm incredulous. People read this Even the lawyer that reads this says you can't do it. And then when you tell the lawyer, here's what I told these folks, tell your lawyer to read this line by line and then show me where I can't make a prepayment on this. You know what the lawyer came back and told them? It doesn't say you can't make a prepayment. What it says is you can't make a prepayment without paying a penalty according to the schedule. But guess what? There is no schedule. There's no other prepayment language. Now, let me show you. Let me show you what's going on here, because let's go. I'm going to put this down. I'm going to bring this back. And remember, here's what the prepayment penalty is designed to do. The penalty is a fee. The penalty fee is an incentive for borrowers. Oh man, that's your incentive. That's your encouragement for borrowers to pay back the principal slowly over a longer term. See, not only is it an incentive for you to pay back longer and pay more interest, what if I just put it in the language, put it in your mortgage that so you just believe you have a prepayment penalty, but you really don't have one? Oh my goodness. Here it is.
Excuse me.
Go ahead, Cheryl.
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the screen. It's a bit blurry. I don't know if I'm the only one, but I can't adjust yours. I can't adjust my screen to make it clear. Is it your screen that we can't?
I don't know. What is it that, what are you seeing?
Um, it's just blurry. I can't make out the words really.
All right. Have you,
from this as a user?
all right. Did you click on that, that you actually started the live?
Yes, I'm looking at it. I don't have to change anything. If
Okay.
I go to something else.
No. Are you seeing anything at all?
Yes, I see you. I see the
Okay.
screen.
But
It's
the,
not showing.
but my numbers are blurry.
Yes.
All right. Let's bring me up to full screen and let's see how that looks to you. Let's bring me up to full screen. Now my engineer is going to do that for us. All right. Can you see me clearly? It's going to take a
I
few
can
seconds to
see
change.
everything, but nothing.
It's going to take a few
Everything.
seconds to change because nothing's on the screen now but me.
Okay, I see you on the screen only. Yes.
And it's clear.
Yes, this is sharp.
Okay. All right. Let's bring that information back. I don't know. I know I've watched replays. I've watched replays, and it brings up clear. I can't explain to you why it's not clear. Let me see if I can make the numbers bigger. Let's see if that helps. All right.
Yeah, your example before this was clear, but this is
Okay.
not.
So let me bring my other example up that I was getting at in the first place here. All right. So I want to bring up my words and make that clear. So I need you to focus in on this wording, and it's so important to get the wording down. The penalty or fee is the incentive for the borrowers to pay back their principal slowly over a longer term. So if you have a prepayment penalty, all right, all right, I've got something in the private chat over here. All right. What are you, Cheryl, what are you watching on? I forgot to ask you. Are you watching on YouTube or are you watching on Facebook or something else?
YouTube.
Watching on YouTube. Okay. And
Look.
yeah, I'm getting some information here that people who are watching on YouTube, it's clear. So I wish I could help you.
I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, then. Thank you.
You may want to switch over to try our Facebook channel. Try our Facebook page and do it that way. Do you have Facebook?
Yeah.
Okay. So you can try just go to Facebook, search P.I.L.L method, and it'll come up. Okay?
Okay.
All right, so we'll try that. So now, folks, here what we have here is Anthony B says, I have no problem seeing it. You might want to check your auto resolution. All right. And I don't know enough about computers to guide you there, but that's what Anthony B said. Thank you, Anthony B, watching us on YouTube. All right, folks, here, I need to break this down further. All right. So here what we have, watch this. The penalty is a fee to cause you to pay over time. Even if you have a prepayment penalty, it's going to cause you to pay over time to do that. All right. It's going to cause you to pay over time to do that. So let me show you one thing. So we're going to bring up something here. We'll bring that on the screen. We're going to duplicate this. We're going to put in a new loan. Lord have mercy. I get so excited about this. 17. Okay. And let me see here. 5%. All right. 360. Let me see if I got the numbers right. Okay. That don't have it right. All right. Delete. Let's try it again. 170. Nope. I got one zero too many. Delete. All right. Here we go. Boom. There we are. Okay. I've got a $17 million loan in here right now. Let me bring this down. A little bit. Took it up. Bring it down. $17 million loan. All right. And on this $17 million loan, the bank wants $15 million in interest on this loan. All right. This is an apartment building somewhere in the US. All right. And $17 million at 5% for 30 years. And the apartments in there, the people actually purchase them. So it's like a condo. It's a condo situation. So when people buy those apartments, they take that money and then they use it to pay, they pay the monthly mortgage on the entire building. It's kind of a co-op sort of deal. All right. So here's what we're doing. So the bank wants 15 million and now they may or may not have a prepayment penalty. All right. They may or may not have a prepayment penalty. But let's just say that this whole company involved has, with what they're charging, they have a sizable fund for repairs and maintenance. They got a sizable fund for repairs and maintenance. Okay, let me show you something here. Every month, let's take a look at cumulative principal and cumulative interest. Every month, they start out paying how much in interest? $70,000 in interest on this loan. $70,000 in interest on this loan. And in the first year, they're paying $70,000 a month interest while they're paying $20,000 and $21,000 going towards principal. In the first year, they will pay this thing down by $250,000. Okay, $250,812.16. And how much interest will they pay? $844,304 in interest. Okay, this is a building that believes they have a prepayment penalty. All right. Now, when you have a prepayment penalty, it is only for a certain time. Most of these prepayment penalties do not survive past 5 years. Most of them. Okay. And then there's only a percentage that you have to pay as a penalty on this. Now, I have a 5% penalty. Let's say we have a 5% penalty on this loan. 5%. Okay, I got a 5% penalty on this loan, but my mortgage interest is 5%. Okay, my mortgage interest is 5%, but that is amortized interest. Amortized interest, totally different animal than the 5% that the bank is going to charge them if they incur a penalty. All right, if they incur a penalty. Let's just say, all right, let's try to figure out if they have, let's say they have a sizable amount in their reserve fund. And I'm just picking out a number here, folks. because of the shortness of time that we have to do this. All right. $250,000. That's how much would be paid down in the first year. So, but if you add up all the principal payments for 1 year, it comes to $250,000, 812. But there is no rule that says I have to pay the $250,000 in 12 monthly installments. As I read the prepayment penalty in the contract, it sounds like I can't. But what it's really saying is you can, with the exception, you can't, with the exception that you have to do it according to the schedule and pay us according to the schedule if you prepay. That's what it says. So now, if I were to prepay this $250,000 out of, let's say I have a fund, all right, and I can use part of the fund. I could borrow part of my fund from my company and use it to prepay this loan. Look how much interest I knock out. I knock off 12 payments and I save $774,000 in interest. And some of this, folks, I wanted to do with you. I haven't even done the numbers ahead of time. Okay. So we're paying this thing. Let's just say we decided we wanted to pay the whole thing off in the first year. All right. I haven't done this. And let's just say I don't know what the schedule would be. I'm just saying let's put in 16,749,178. Because I haven't even done this yet. I don't know what 5% would be. I don't know what their schedule is on this because there is no schedule. I believe this is just boilerplate language in this particular mortgage just to kind of scare people that you can't do it. But what if it was 5% and 5% on the whole thing? 5% on the whole thing. So if we wanted to pay off the whole thing, it would be 5% of this number times 0.05 equals $837,000. $837,000 in interest. That would be the penalty for prepaying this loan. Okay, for prepaying this loan. This is for the whole loan. If they were to pay it all off, it would cost them a penalty of $837,000. Now, the whole in interest, the bank wants $15 million in interest. $15 million in interest. So folks, whatever I do here, watch this. Whatever I do, it can't cost me more than $837,000 because this is where I am. This is where I would be if I were just to pay it down and just to prepay 1 year's worth. I gave you the penalty for the entire loan. So if whatever I do, if I do a partial prepayment, it can't be more than $837,000. So what if I wanted to do this? Prepay just 2 years worth, $514,000. Look at my interest savings. $1,606,992. Here is the penalty for the entire loan paid off. I'm just looking at 2 years. So the penalty, if there was a penalty, it wouldn't be anywhere near the $837,000. It would be for paying off the entire loan. And if I prepaid for 2 years, I save over $1.6 million in interest I never have to pay. Folks, do you see how valuable this is, even for real estate investors who have been looking at this thing and they're looking at their 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 step down, and say, I could improve my situation here, but I have to pay them a penalty if I want to refinance. I have to pay them a penalty if something happens and I can pay off the loan. Because if I pay off the loan, or if I refinance it, I got to pay that penalty. But I don't know. I don't know what the penalty is, number one, and I don't know what my benefit is, number two. But if I were to prepay this whole thing, the most it could ever cost me is $837,000. So what is my benefit for prepaying? Find out how much interest you save and then get the actual cost. I guarantee you it's going to be a lot less than the benefit you receive. Are there any other questions or comments about this right now? Because I also said there may be a time where you will ask for a prepayment penalty. Why would we do that? Listen, I need you all to find out how we would ask for a prepayment penalty. I need you to start sharing the room, getting more people in here, getting more people on YouTube, on Facebook, or wherever you're watching this. Share it with your community. Get them in here. I'm going to show you why you may want to ask for a prepayment penalty instead of looking at it like you're being saddled or slapped with a prepayment penalty. We're going to hear, I want to bring up Dr. Eric Thomas so he can talk to us about understanding this from a standpoint of being a disruptor in this industry. The P.I.L.L method is a disruptor in this industry, helping us to see the numbers for what they really are. Let's hear what Dr. Eric Thomas has to say about it right now.
Listen to me, y'all. But one of his mentees took us through one of their programs, and I paid off my mortgage. But guess what happened? My marriage went to a whole nother level. And you know why? Because my wife is a security freak. And even when I blew up, my wife would be like, oh, you blew up, but how long is you gonna keep making this kind of money? I was like, I don't know, forever. She's like, you sure? Because I'm gonna keep my license as a nurse just in case you don't. So when I paid the house off, my boy was like, you ain't gotta do that, you can do this. But when I paid the house off using that program, it took the stress level all the way down from my wife because we no longer had a mortgage. Does that make sense? That thing that was coming every month, that was getting on her nerves, we didn't have that no more. And so she was at rest.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to be, look at him, man. Look at it. We got StreamYard up here. Oh my goodness. My goodness. We got our engineer up here, Kurt. Listen, if you want to do this thing right, be like the hip hop preacher. Yeah, that's okay. That's all right, man. They've hurt me. They've hurt me. Listen, go to ice10k.com. Go to ice10k.com and get your savings and earnings report today. All right, we're going to come over that just a little bit later, but also listen, we're giving out game today. We're giving out such information that you've never heard before. Reading these contracts, knowing what's happening and how the bank is playing the game. You need to know how to play the bank. Need to know how to play the game as well so that you can benefit from what we're talking about. This is the only place where you're going to get this kind of information. You've never heard it anywhere else. All you've heard was a prepayment penalty is something that needs to be avoided. You've never learned how you can make it work for you. And the P.I.L.L method is the place. So find out how you can pay off all of your debt in an average of 7 to 9 years and save up to 75 to 80% of your interest payments that you never have to pay the bank, even if you have a prepayment penalty in Canada. Even if you have a prepayment penalty in Jamaica, even if you have a prepayment penalty in Bermuda on your mortgage, let's show you how you can benefit a lot more by paying off the loan cheaper, paying less interest, And the penalty that you would pay is so small, it's not even funny. It's not even funny how they do that, how they scare us with a penalty and find out that you can save hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest and your penalty is less than $1,000. Oh my goodness. Kurt, come on back on the screen, man. Talk to us. What do you got for us today?
Hey man, listen. This is. I hope that people are paying attention. Listen, let me start by saying Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you first. How you doing, man?
Happy New Year to you, man. I'm doing great. Listen, I wanted to start off the new year with a bang and give people some information that they've never heard before that's going to benefit them.
And that's what you. I know that was your intent and your goal for today, but I find that's what you do every day. Provide information that's going to help and provide information that's going to really be a benefit, man. I love these spaces and these rooms. I'm hoping that you guys are tracking with what he is sharing.
Tell the folks on Clubhouse why they can't see you on stage.
Okay. Yeah. So right now, to give you a little bit of the technical, what Don is doing is he's multi-streaming. Multicasting is the term that we call it. He is on Clubhouse using the same mic that you are hearing him through on Clubhouse. That mic also includes me in StreamYard. And so I'm coming through Don Daniels' mic in Clubhouse, and that's how you're able to hear me, but that's why you can't see my circle, my icon on stage or anything like that, because we're multicasting. We're using that same mic that he's using to go into Clubhouse here on StreamYard as well. And that's actually how you guys are able to be heard by the people who are watching on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter, which is where we're streaming to. So just wanted to give you guys a little bit of the technical side of that thing. One of the things I love about people always talk about the term repurpose, repurpose your content, repurpose so that you can, put it in more places so you can, create a groundswell of interest and opportunities for I guess, referral based income. But one of the things that we are doing while live is multicasting. And we're putting this content on multiple different places. So Don gets to share this information, this value once, but he's sharing it to multiple different audiences. And some people learn just by listening, and for those that have been following the club on Clubhouse for months and if not years, you've been benefiting from that. And the more, as they say, repetition deepens the impression. But some of us, I'm talking about me, some of us need to see the visuals. And I'm excited that Don has added that visual component into his show. Sharing his screen, showing some of the amortization schedules, showing some of the examples, showing the opportunity cost calculator. I love when he shows that because I think that's the secret sauce. A lot of what he shares is best practices and principles. They will help you. But that opportunity cost calculator, man, that's the cheat code, fam. Like 2023, this first day, you need your own opportunity cost calculator. I'm going to kick it back to you, Don. This has been awesome.
All right, man. Listen, here's what, folks, I promised you, I'm going to put on the screen now. All right. Here is just one example why you might want a prepayment penalty. In the U.S., there are virtually no prepayment penalties on residential mortgages. That doesn't mean that they don't exist or you can't have one. It doesn't mean that at all. Your mortgage company may offer it, but what they're not letting you know that is an option that is for you, because most people they don't bring it up because most people don't want it. They have learned to say to avoid prepayment penalties. It's always been a huge negative. It's never been looked at as a positive. Let me give you one example of why you might want to consider it. Sometimes, just sometimes, all right, you have an opportunity here to get the house of your dreams. But lately, the houses, the prices are almost out of reach. Not only that, but the interest rates are high. So what the banks are offering is a way for you to buy down the rate. I have done several rooms on that. It's not something that I recommend because if you can afford the payment, you're better off at a slightly higher interest rate than a lower one. I'm not going to get into that today unless somebody asks me. All right. But for let's just say you saw one of my other shows and you know that if I had a slightly higher interest rate, I can save more money in interest. I can prepay faster and more efficiently at a higher interest rate than a lower one. But there are some people, when they take a look at this payment and they look at their budget, they have the house that they want. They just don't have the payment that they want. Okay? They got the house that they want, but they don't have the payment that they want. So they will buy down the rate so that they can get the payment that they need to be able to get in that house so that they're not overspending on their housing costs. Now, there's a difference between needing a smaller payment and wanting a smaller payment. Okay? So folks, here's what I'm saying. If you need a smaller payment, and this is a strategy you may want to use. Okay, let's just say I can pay about $11,000. Okay, I can pay about $11,000, and then I can somewhere between $11,000 and $15,000, and I can buy 2 points. I can take this from $300,000 to 7% interest to 5%. Okay, from 7% to 5%, 300,000. Here's my mortgage. All right, and my payment is let me see here, on 300,000 at 7%. My payment is $1,995.91. That's my payment amount. Okay. Now I like a slightly higher interest rate. Why? Because my principal payment is smaller, and we attack the loan with principal payments. If you've been in my room, you know that that's what we do. We attack it with principal payments. I can come up with $247, all right, to attack this loan and knock off $1,700 in interest. Or I can duplicate this tab. Let me duplicate this tab. Let's bring this up and change the rate to 5%. We're going to change the rate to 5% and then redo this. Now my payment is $1,610. Well, maybe that's a little bit more comfortable. I got $1,610 as a payment, as opposed to $1,750. But look at my principal payment at 5%. My principal payment starts out at $360 and $361. If I want to get rid of one payment now, I have to come up with $361.96 to eliminate one line from my mortgage. Instead of at the higher interest rate, at 7%, I could do more damage to this loan with the extra money that I have from my savings account to attack this loan to save interest. All right. So now, instead of buying down the points, now let's just say that this is a family that needs a payment, that needs this payment. They need that 5% interest rate. They need it. They don't just want it, but they need it. Instead of buying down the rate, ask your lender if they have a payment penalty. Do you have a prepayment penalty clause that I can, I'll take advantage of that if it lowers my rate to 5%? Do you know that if they have it, they may fall all over themselves to give you a prepayment penalty? Get with us. Let us help you to understand what the terms are, and you may be able to benefit from the prepayment penalty. It doesn't mean that you can't prepay it. It means that instead of giving them $11,000, all right, or $15,000 to get that money, you can use your cash. All right. I got the payment that I want. I still have my $11,000 to $15,000 because they gave me a prepayment penalty to do that. And once I find out what the prepayment penalty is, I can turn around. I've got my lower interest rate. Okay. My prepayment penalty is only going to last me for about 5 years. We're going to show you there are different ways to calculate a prepayment penalty according to whatever mortgage company you're using. But once you figure that out, they said, well, if you do that, some of them say, listen, anytime you prepay, we're going to charge you 3 months interest on. So what is your interest? What is your interest only payment? We're going to charge you 3 months interest for that. Your interest only payment on this loan is $1,200, $1,250. $1,250. One of the ways a mortgage company will figure this out is if you do something that messes up our loan, we're going to charge you 3 interest payments on the interest only side. So they'll tell, this is your interest only payment, $1,250. That's where it starts. You prepay this loan, you owe us 3 of these. And you'd say, well, I used the prepayment penalty clause to get the lower interest rate. I didn't spend my $11,000 to $15,000 to get it. I still have my $11,000 that I was planning on giving you so I can get the lower rate, but you gave me a prepayment penalty instead. Now that I know how to read a prepayment penalty, I can take the $11,000 I was going to give you to get the lower rate. I'm looking at my cumulative principal here. I'm working with P.I.L.L method and Don Daniel and the team, and we're going to take that $11,000 and we're going to apply it to this loan and knock off 28 payments with it that we never have to make and save over $34,000 in interest with that money. And when we try to pay it, they're going to say, red flag, you now owe us the prepayment penalty for doing that, which is three times the interest only payment. Let's bring this up. Lord have mercy. $1,250. All right, times 3. You now owe us $3,750. Pay us. But even they don't realize that you use your $11,000 just to save over $34,000 in interest. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, would you pay $3,700 in order to save over $34,000 on your mortgage and knock off over 2 years off of payments you never have to make? What do you think? Come on, folks, talk to me. Oh my gosh. Does anybody get what I'm saying? Do you understand what we're saying here today, folks? There could be, as a strategy, you could ask for a prepayment penalty, know what the prepayment penalty, how it operates, and then take the money you would have had to use to buy down the rate, use your prepayment penalty clause to bring down your rate, and then take your cash and prepay this thing anyway and get the benefits from it. Oh my goodness.
Don, I have a question here.
Come on.
Someone is back channel me and it said, ask him what kind of loan is this for? Dodd-Frank makes prepayment penalties are illegal on owner-occupied loans. Only business purpose loan, non-owner occupied property has prepayment penalties.
You know, that could be. And I'm just saying, because there have been some changes, things change all the time. Things change all the time. Even with the event of Dodd-Frank, no doc loans were, they were frowned upon, but now they've come back. I'm telling you, things change all the time. If it is possible to get a prepayment penalty in the U.S. on a residential, it may benefit you if it's available. All right. If you have investment property, it is definitely available. All right. And I'm not a lawyer. I don't know Dodd-Frank. I don't know. Listen, I don't know.
And
Go ahead.
and he reiterated it was taken. I took effect on 2014. It was 2014 that it took effect.
Yes, it took effect, take effect on 2014. Yes, but here's the thing, folks. Things change. They change all the time. And people who are in the mortgage industry, here's what you can't do. All right. Here's what you can't do, folks. Things that were true then may not be true now. That's why you need to work with a mortgage professional to see whether it is still true. If the laws have changed, things change all the time. And if it is available to you, here is a strategy that may work for you as a residential home buyer. It will definitely work for you as a person who is a real estate investor, because they have prepayment penalties all the time. And this is something you could ask for if you need to lower your interest, to lower your mortgage payment for whatever reason. Now, I'm not saying that I would never get a lower interest rate. I'm just saying that there are some times when it's beneficial to get a lower interest rate, but most of the time it is beneficial to have a slightly higher interest rate. But if you need a lower rate, then this clause may be able to get you a lower rate without you paying cash money for it. I hope that makes sense to everybody. We got a new person on the stage, Mr. Refresher. What's going on, man?
Mr. Ice, what's going on, man? It's been a while, brother. How you doing, sir? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, man. Happy New Year to you. Do you have a question or comment today?
Nah, I just saw you opening the room. Man. I want to come show love to you, like you show love to my room, and just tell you Happy New Year, brother. That's all.
Well, speaking of your room, man, don't be talking about your room and not tell people what it is. That's not fair.
You know, I got the club Evolution. Me, you, TK, always being there. It's all about evolving, going to the next level. You know, it's a new year, so we want to go to a new level. You know, do something different than you did last year. So that's what it's all about, evolving to new levels. You know.
You got that, folks. You got that right. You got that right. Mr. Refresher, Donna, Credit Ninja, Kareen. Listen, folks, I wanted to start off the year with a bang. All right. I wanted to share with you some things that are going on in this industry. We are disrupting the mortgage industry, the lending industry, with this information. And none of you have ever heard this kind of thing before. Miss Cheryl, I want to thank you for being here, because you came with a valuable background, stating that you're studying this, and every time you studied it, the general consensus was that prepayment penalties was a negative and should be avoided. Do you still have the same attitude now towards prepayment penalties?
No.
How has it changed?
Well, because of what I do, I never had that attitude. I never really thought it was necessarily a bad thing, but I was forced to look at it a little different. But it has changed significantly since I've been in Clubhouse listening to you. Okay, but by myself, I never necessarily thought it was negative. It's just in classes, continuing ed for real estate, we just didn't go into it much. It just seemed like a bad thing in those classes. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense, because
Okay.
if that's your orientation, if that is the education you're receiving, and being a real estate agent, or being
We don't go into it.
a loan officer, how can you give good information to your clients in a way that could benefit them if it's something that is always looked at as a negative and should be avoided? So, folks, yes, go ahead.
I'm going to refer them to your program.
Oh, my goodness. Then if you're going to refer them to our program, then what you need to do is go to P.I.L.L, ice10k.com, my link above, and sign up to become an affiliate. It's very easy. Sign up to become an affiliate. You put your information in there, and then we put you on the list. And then when you refer people to watch some of our videos, get with them within 48 hours. And if they want more information, you fill out a referral card. That's that second button. Fill that out. Put your name in as the referrer. Send it over to us. We take it from there. When they become a client, we'll send you $300. How simple is that? All right. So listen, refer. So folks, if you want to be a referral partner with us in this next year, and let's just say, Don, I really believe in what you're doing, and I can refer a bunch of people. Let's talk about what it would take for you to get $1,000 per referral instead of the $300. Oh, there's a program for that as well. For $300, anywhere between $300 and $1,000 per referral. Let's talk about it. Let's learn about it. Let's get this information out there. This is disruptive information and disruptive technology. I want to thank everybody for being here today on our very first show of the year. I hope and I pray that we gave you something to think about, that as you watch this over and over and over again, that you actually see that prepayment penalties may not be everything that they're chalked up to be. And the language could even be included in your mortgage document, but the prepayment penalty itself is not even there. Oh, that. Listen, I get excited when people bring me information like this, and I can tell them how now you can save hundreds of thousands and for some people, even over $1 million worth of interest, because you now know how to navigate around your prepayment penalty. Folks, we're going to be right back here again on Wednesday. Our time is about up. I'm going to come back here on Clubhouse just so that so our moderators can say goodbye to you. But we're going to say goodbye to everybody who's online watching us right now on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, and on LinkedIn. I'm going to put it in my ICE 10K. Boom. ICE10K.com. We're putting that in the chat as well. I'm going to say Happy New Year to everybody. All right. Happy New Year to everyone. There you go. That's in our chat. I'm going to say goodbye to everyone. We're going to listen to Dr. Eric Thomas one more time as we say goodbye for our first show of the year. We'll see you again on Wednesday.
Listen to me, y'all. But one of his mentees took us through one of their programs, and I paid off my mortgage. But guess what happened? My marriage went to a whole nother level. And you know why? Because my wife is a security freak. And even when I blew up, my wife would be like, oh, you blew up, but how long is you gonna keep making this kind of money? I was like, I don't know, forever. She's like, you sure? Because I'm gonna keep my license as a nurse just in case you don't. So when I paid the house off, my boy was like, you ain't gotta do that, you can do this. But when I paid the house off using that program, it took the stress level all the way down for my wife because we no longer had a mortgage. Does that make sense? That thing that was coming every month, that was getting on her nerves, we didn't have that no more. And so she was at rest.